The time is now to have meaningful conversations in the midst not only of educational benefits, but now name, image, and likeness.
On today's Odd Coaches podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Francis discuss the recent Supreme Court ruling on Alston versus the NCAA. Welcome to today's show. Dr. Keith Adams is the president of the CCA Safe Project, a nonprofit organization designed to assist student athletes and the people who work with them through educational and professional development. He is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college levels. He has won numerous championships and epitomizes professionalism. Coach Mike Franchise Francis is one of the most successful football and basketball coaches in the state of Maryland. He too is a career academic and athletic leader with close to 30 years of experience on the high school and college level and is self-admittedly a little rough around the edges. Both men have mentored countless student athletes, teachers, and coaches using their unique methods and approaches to leadership. Both men also share a unique and special friendship that was cultivated often through their unique perspective of life and leadership. Dr. Adams through his extensive educational background and Coach Francis through his life experiences. Can these two men share a podcast without driving each other crazy? Welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches podcast. My name is Dr. Keith Adams, founder and president of the CCA Safe Project, a nonprofit organization designed to assist student athletes and the people who work with them through educational and professional development. With me today, as always, man, it is good to see my tag team partner, my Scott Steiner to my Rick Steiner, the icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And man, it has been too long, sir. How are you, sir?
I am well, sir. Yes, it's been too long since we've last been able to talk. Thank you for such a great introduction, and I'm glad to be here.
Yes, real life is real. And speaking of real life, we've got a potential adversarial relationship between student athletes, colleges, and the NCAA with the Supreme Court ruling in the Alston versus NCAA case 9-0. The NCAA is one of the few groups to bring conservatives and liberals together. But on June 21st, 2021, the United States Supreme Court ruled in favor of former West Virginia football player Sean Alston, who argued that the NCAA's rules on education-related compensation were unfair and violate federal antitrust laws. So the Supreme Court decision does not decide whether or not student athletes can be paid salaries, but it will go a long way in changing the landscape. And I wanted to give you a couple of quotes before I got your thoughts. Justice Kavanaugh said that nowhere else in America can businesses get away with agreeing not to pay their workers a fair market rate on the theory that their product is defined by not paying their workers a fair market rate. He also said the business model of the NCAA would be flatly illegal in almost any other industry. And the last one, sir, before I get your comments, was my biggest takeaway. The NCAA is not above the law. Coach Francis, having a child who was a former high-level NCAA Division I student athlete, what are your initial thoughts on this Supreme Court decision and Justice Kavanaugh's statements?
Well, I think that it's going in the right direction. I think it's a strike towards the right direction, a step towards the right direction. As far as Judge Kavanaugh's statements, it couldn't be further from the truth. To me, I've experienced it, and he's dead on. And nowhere else in America can business get away with it, as he said. Like even Lynn Elmore's comment about having a labor force, and I say that in air quotes, a labor force. How do you anywhere in modern world have a workforce that you're not paying over rules you created for yourself, or you created and you sign and you vote on, because everyone involved in it continues to benefit from it? Now, the fact that these Division One ADs showed strong support was really unbelievable to me, but I'm glad that they're starting to see what's going on. There's some other things in here that I like to see as far as when I'm talking about these educational benefits, because I think that sometimes it's like a double standard to be an athlete, okay, a student athlete, especially the Power 5 schools, a double standard. And an example I'll just use is Chris Webber, and we're not going to talk about other benefits, but Chris Webber talked about how they came back from a game. It was like 11 at night. They got back on campus. He wanted to go to Burger King. He's hungry. It's 11. After 11, he still got class in the morning. He got practice in the morning. He got a lift. He walks by Burger King. He can't get a Whopper. Going across campus, he's hungry. It's 11. After 11, he still got class in the morning. He got practice in the morning. He got a lift. He walks by Burger King. He can't get a Whopper. Going across campus, he goes by the school store. His jersey's in the window for $45. So how can a kid who has no money to buy themselves something to eat, but his jersey is being sold for $45 right in front of his face? Like, you see that every day. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. How do you feel about that?
Well, you know that I spent 6 years of my life actively researching NCAA Division I student athlete motivation. My dissertation was entitled "Find the Balance Between Academic and Sport Motivation." And in the dissertation, I studied a lot of these court cases, and the Alston case was started in 2014, and that was in the midst of my own research. And three cases came to mind for me. You may recall Northwestern University's football players had a desire to be considered university employees. Ed O'Bannon, which took away, quite frankly, in my opinion, the greatest video game ever in the history of video games, but I'm not mad at him. His case centered on how long the NCAA and its member institutions can profit off of his name, image, and likeness, which got us to where we are today. And July 1st will be around the corner, and we'll talk about that at another time in another episode.
Yes.
George McCants, his case is under discussed. His case against the University of North Carolina, alleging that his education was harmed due to taking fraudulent classes while he was at North Carolina. These cases provide a glimpse into the mindset of current student athletes. And what I think the Supreme Court ruling does is create the opportunity for meaningful, lasting change to benefit student athletes, because now's the time for colleges and universities across the country to have these real conversations of how can we give student athletes the benefits they need in terms of equipment, laptops, tutoring. The academic advising department is woefully understaffed across the country. Socio-emotional benefits and supports, graduate opportunities. So the time is now to have meaningful conversations in the midst not only of educational benefits, but now name, image, and likeness. Conversations must be had, and the federal court system actually 9-0 said, man, how you do business is wrong, and the next line of cases coming up, you better do something or it's going to be bad for you.
And then that Rashard McCants, every basketball player in North Carolina history had a degree in African American studies, didn't he? I'm just saying, I'm sure if you go back and look, those who did,
there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because those are a lot of classes you could do, like independent. There's classes you can do away. You didn't have to go to class. Like a lot of that psychology of racism, psychology in a black family, stuff like that is just pretty much a lot of reading and papers that you write. So I can understand where Rashard McCants is coming from, because they try to discourage our athletes from taking serious majors. They do. my son always said, well, I want to major in this. And everywhere we went, and it's like, we might have that, which we already had researched and knew they had it. But they was like, maybe you want to do phys ed, or maybe like they tried to discourage him from, he wanted to be a poli-sci major. And they, it's a lot of work. You got to do an internship, take away from, being in the weight room and doing things like that. And the class times are offered differently. So yeah, they'll try to push you towards those other degrees of study.
And Mike, as a former Division III coach at a highly academic institution, shout out to Hood College and my two closest friends, Tom Dickman and Amante Hill. We actually had the players, when I coached there, bring their schedules to us in the fall before basketball season. Set your schedules, do whatever. I even had a kid major in marine biology, excuse me. And we had every player schedule up on a big board. And then we looked at times that we could have practice. That's how we did it. So yeah, sometimes we practice at 6 a.m. Actually, I've recruited one of your players. And I'm sure he'd mentioned, sometimes we practice at 6 a.m. Sometimes we practice at 8:30 at night. It was around their schedules, not the other way around. And we know of universities that said, this is when basketball practice is, it's 3:30. And that's what time you better be free, and that knocks out a whole lot of majors. We're not passing judgment, but at Hood we flipped it around and did it around the student athlete schedule, where in a lot of schools they did it based on this is what time the coach is going to practice, and that's when you have to be available. Any final thoughts before we wrap this piece up?
First of all, I just want to give kudos to you guys at Hood for doing that, because there's very few coaches that would do that. And sometimes with limit of space, I want to give a shout out to y'all athletic director who allowed y'all to do whatever time y'all wanted. Because, I was at Essex and it was like, all right, you got this time to this time. Like, huh? Yeah, lacrosse is coming in, baseball's coming in. I was like, wait a minute, we're indoors. Yes, they practice indoors. Like, it doesn't matter. In the state of Maryland, boy, lacrosse and baseball is it. So, all other thing I want to say to that is I'm glad that it's moving in the right direction. And it sounds like the people who are behind it are really, really pushing it towards where it can be successful, these student athletes to come.
Well, I will say we will definitely keep an eye on this. Times are changing, and we'll be back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The vision of the CCA Safe Project is to use the combination of academics and athletics as a catalyst to lifelong success. Thus, the CCA Safe Project works to improve student-athlete academic and athletic performance by assisting student-athletes with transitional and transferable skills such as time management and organizational skills, along with the ability to self-advocate to help improve performance. However, we cannot do our work without the help of supporters like you. Consider donating to the CCA Safe Project. We accept tax-deductible contributions in a number of ways, including Venmo and Cash App at CCA Safe Project, or directly at the main page of our website, www.ckasafeproject.org. Simply click the donate button. We thank you in advance for your continued support. We hope you enjoyed today's show. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at CoachesOdd, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share the Odd Coaches podcast. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Safe Project, and don't forget to follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Safe Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasafeproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.